The small alien world was quiet. Once, it had been full of light cities and voices. Now it was broken. Smoke covered the sky. The ground was burned and empty. The people of this world had no soldiers left, no ships, no allies. They had trusted the galaxy. When the war came, they asked for help. They sent messages to the Great Galactic Council. They waited for fleets, for promises, for rescue. But the answers never came. The galaxy had decided they were not worth saving. The Council called them a lost cause. Too weak, too small. Saving them would cost too much. One by one, the great powers turned away. Their fleets left the system. Their names were removed from galactic records. They were abandoned on the surface of the dying planet. The last survivors gathered inside a broken shelter. Food was low. Power was failing. Children slept in fear. The elders spoke in quiet voices, trying to hide the truth. They all knew the end was near. One final choice remained. The last communication officer stood before an old transmitter. It was damaged, weak, and slow. It could only send one message. Not to the Council. Not to any known ally. It would be sent into open space. A blind call. A message with no address. Many believed it was pointless. The galaxy had already spoken. No one would answer. Still, the signal was sent. A simple message of fear and hope. We are still here. We need help. The transmitter went silent. The survivors waited in the darkness, believing no one would ever hear them. Far away, beyond the borders of known space, something changed. A signal was detected, from a species of galaxy often ignored. Humanity. The signal reached human space without warning. It was weak, old, almost lost in the noise of deep space. Many systems ignored it at first. Automated filters marked it as broken data, something not important. But one human officer paused. The message was short. No threats, no demands, only fear. We are still here. We need help. The words were simple, but they carried pain. Inside the human command station, the signal was replayed. Officers gathered around the screen. The star map showed its origin, a forgotten system, a war zone the galaxy had already left behind. Silence filled the room. Humans knew the rules of the galaxy. That system was marked as abandoned. Entering it would break many agreements. It would also invite enemies. Some officers shook their heads. It's not our war, one said. It could be a trap, said another. The council has already decided. A third added. The easy choice was to ignore the call. But humans had never been good at easy choices. A senior commander stepped forward. He watched the message again. He saw the fear behind the words. He saw people who had been erased by the galaxy. The council gave up on them, he said quietly. That does not mean we will. The room went silent again. Orders were given. Not loudly, not with pride, but with purpose. A small fleet was prepared, not a war armada, not a show of power. Rescue ships, medical vessels, defense craft. No announcement was sent to the galaxy. Human ships moved in silence. As engines warmed and lights came alive, many wondered what waited for them beyond the border. Enemy fleets, ruins, or only death. Still, the ships jumped into hyperspace, toward a system marked as lost, toward those who believed no one was coming. The galaxy did not notice. Yet, human ships arrived in silence. The system was worse than expected. Broken stations drifted through space like dead shells. Wrecked ships covered the orbit. No defense lines. No warning beacons. Only the signs of a battle already lost. On the surface below, the survivors saw the ships appear. Fear spread quickly. They have come to finish us, some whispered. Others closed their eyes, ready for the end. The humans did not attack. Instead, their ships moved into position around the planet. Large vessels spread out, forming a wide barrier. Smaller craft flew toward the surface, slow and open, with no weapons aimed. Before anyone could understand why, alarms sounded. Enemy fleets returned. The same forces that had destroyed the world came back to claim what was left. They did not expect resistance. The galaxy had already walked away. Then the human ships moved. Energy shields expanded, covering the planet like a glowing wall. Enemy fire struck the shields again and again. The impact shook human vessels, but they did not break formation. On the surface, the aliens watched in shock. No one had ever stood for them before. Human fighters launched next. Fast, precise. They did not chase glory. They protected evacuation paths. They blocked enemy weapons. They took hits meant for the planet. One human ship was struck directly. Flames spread across its hull. The enemy waited for it to fall. It did not. The damaged ship held its place, shields weak but active. Other human vessels moved closer, sharing power, reinforcing it. The message was clear. They would not retreat. The battle grew intense. Explosions lit the darkness. Yet, slowly, the enemy began to pull back. This fight was not easy. This prey fought back. From the surface, the survivors sent a new message, not a call for help. A question: why are you doing this? A human reply came soon after: because you are not alone. And for the first time since the war began, the abandoned world felt hope. The battle did not go unnoticed. Across the galaxy, sensors began to light up. Long-range scanners detected human ships inside a forbidden system. Data streams reached the Galactic Council within hours. Confusion spread. That system was abandoned, one council member said. No fleet should be there, said another. The images were replayed again and again. Human vessels holding position. Human fighters protecting evacuation zones. Medical ships landing on a dying world. The council felt something new. Unease. They had expected the survivors to vanish quietly. That was the rule of the galaxy. Weak worlds fell. Strong ones moved on. Humans did not follow that rule. On the surface, the change was clear. Supplies arrived. Food, medicine, shelter units. Human doctors worked without fear, treating wounded aliens as equals. No questions were asked. No payment demanded. The survivors watched in disbelief. These humans did not act like conquerors. They did not ask for loyalty. They did not take control. They simply helped. In orbit, human ships remained in place. More arrived, not as an invasion force, but as a promise. The enemy fleet sent warnings. Threats, demands that humans leave. The reply was short. This world is under human protection. The message spread fast. Some species laughed. Others grew nervous. A few remembered old stories about humans. Stories of stubborn defense. Of standing their ground long after logic said retreat. The council argued. Sanctions were suggested. Warnings were prepared. Before any decision was made, humanity sent a broadcast. It was not aimed at the council alone. It was sent to the entire galaxy. The survivors gathered to listen. Council members watched in silence. Enemy commanders paused their attacks. The message began calmly. You chose to abandon them. A pause followed. We did not. The galaxy listened, and for the first time, it realized this was no small rescue. This was a challenge to how the galaxy worked. The human broadcast spread across the galaxy. Every major world received it. Military stations paused. Council chambers fell silent. Even enemy fleets slowed their advance. The human speaker did not shout. He did not threaten. His voice was calm. You abandoned them, he said. You erased their names. You called it balance. Images appeared with the words. Broken cities, injured children, a dying world left alone. We saw them, the human continued. We heard their call. The message changed. This world is not alone. They are under our protection. Any attack on them is an attack on humanity. The words were simple. The meaning was heavy. Across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some leaders felt shame. Others felt anger. A few felt fear. Enemy commanders hesitated. Humans had not come to conquer. They had come to stand in the way. Near the planet, human ships moved closer together. Shields overlapped. Fighters formed tight defense lines. Medical ships continued their work, even as weapons stayed ready. On the surface, The survivors watched the sky glow with human shields. Many cried openly. They had prepared to die forgotten. Instead, someone had chosen them. Unexpected signals began to appear. Small fleets from other species arrived. Not the great powers, but minor worlds, forgotten worlds, worlds that remembered fear. They joined the human line. No words were spoken. Their presence was enough. The enemy fleet pulled back. This fight was no longer easy. This was no longer quiet. The galaxy had been forced to look at itself. For the survivors, the meaning was clear. Humanity had not saved them out of duty, not for reward, not for power. They had stood because someone needed them. And as ships from many worlds formed a united line in the stars, a new idea took shape. Unity was stronger than fear, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war ended quietly, not with a final great battle, but with silence. Enemy fleets withdrew one by one. They did not send threats. They did not return. The cost of fighting had become too high. Human ships remained. Reconstruction began. On the surface, shelters became cities again. Power grids returned to life. Fields were planted where fire once burned. Human engineers worked beside alien builders. Different hands, same purpose. For survivors, every day felt unreal. They walked freely under open skies. Children laughed without fear. The sound of explosions was replaced by voices and light. Across the galaxy, the council gathered. This time, they did not speak with confidence. They had seen the images, not just of battle, but of unity. Humans standing without demand, other species joining without orders. The council announced new laws. No world could be erased without review. No species could be abandoned in silence. No war could ignore civilian life. These rules were not written by fear. They were written because humanity had forced the galaxy to remember compassion. The rescued world was given a choice: protection, partnership, or freedom. They chose partnership. A new symbol was placed in galactic records, not of power, but of unity, a reminder of the day the galaxy failed, and humanity did not. Years later, young stars would hear the story, how a small world was left to die, how the galaxy turned away, and how one species' answer call meant for no one. They would learn that humanity did not rule the galaxy, but when the galaxy forgot its soul, humanity stood, not above others, not alone, but together. And from that day forward, whenever a weak voice called into the dark, the galaxy listened, because humanity had changed the rule forever. No one would be left behind again.